The gala hall of Westbridge Tower sparkled like liquid gold under the chandeliers. Billionaires moved like pieces on a chessboard. Sleek, confident, calculating. Among them stood Grant Halden, a man whose very name made stock markets twitch. His suit cost more than some people's yearly salary. His watch even more. Grant thrived on being the smartest in every room. But he also thrived on something darker, mocking those he believed beneath him. So when he saw the janitor, a black man in a faded blue uniform mopping the edge of the marble floor near the investor lounge, he smirked. "Hey mop guy," he called, loud enough for nearby investors to hear. "Got any hot stock tips for us?" He laughed at his own joke, and his billionaire friends joined in. The janitor paused, leaning slightly on the mop handle. His eyes lifted, calm, steady, unbothered. The name stitched on his chest read, "David, actually," David said softly. "I do." The laughter died instantly. Grant raised an eyebrow. "Oh, this is gonna be good," he said, folding his arms. "All right, enlighten us." David didn't flinch. "Sell Halden Aerospace," he said. The air fell silent. Halden Aerospace was Grant's company, his empire, his pride. Grant blinked, then burst into laughter so hard he nearly spilled his champagne. "Buddy," he wheezed, "if you want a raise, this is not how you get it." But David didn't smile. "I'm not trying to be funny," he said. "Your propulsion division has 3 failures you've ignored, and your CFO has been liquidating stock quietly for weeks." A couple of investors froze. One whispered, "Is that true?" Another murmured, "I heard rumors." Grant's face twitched, but he kept up the show. "Oh really? And how would you know that?" David looked down at his hands. "I mop your executives' offices. I read the reports they leave out. I hear the conversations they assume no one's listening to." Grant stepped toward him, eyes narrowing. "You're accusing my team of hiding things from me." "No," David said. "I'm telling you they already are." One of the investors, an older woman with diamond earrings, spoke gently. "Grant, maybe we should know." Grant snapped. He wanted to humiliate the janitor completely. "Fine genius," he said. "What should I buy then, if you're so brilliant?" David met his eyes without the slightest tremble. "By Eaton Pharma. The FDA approval for their autoimmune treatment comes next Thursday. Their valuation right now is a joke, but the results," he exhaled slowly, "they're going to change the entire medical market." Grant rolled his eyes. "That report is confidential." David nodded. "Your VP left the folder on the conference table. I cleaned the room before the board meeting." Investors exchanged glances. "This wasn't a joke anymore," Grant scoffed. "And you expect me to believe you didn't steal anything?" David lifted both hands. "I didn't take a thing. I respect spaces that aren't mine, but I do read what's left in front of me, and I do listen. People talk openly around me because they think I'm invisible." Something in Grant's chest tightened, but he brushed it off. "Enough," he said. "You're a janitor. You make minimum wage. If you're so smart, why aren't you doing anything with this brilliant mind of yours?" David hesitated. Then he said quietly, "Because I take care of my mother. She's bedridden after a stroke. 2 jobs, night shifts, whatever I can get. I do all of it to afford her care." A few investors lowered their eyes. The billionaire crowd suddenly felt small. Grant swallowed. "But arrogance wouldn't let him stop. So you expect me to believe you're some kind of hidden financial savant?" David shrugged gently. "I don't expect you to believe anything, but I do know what I know." Grant waved him off and turned to his group. "Let's go. I've wasted enough time on this circus act." But a voice behind him spoke firmly. "Grant." It was the diamond-earing investor Evelyn Shaw, founder of Shaw Capital, one of the sharpest minds in the market. She stepped toward David. "You said Eaton Pharma. Thursday approval?" she asked. David nodded. "By 11:40 a.m. Eastern, the lab report's done. The testing passed." Evelyn studied him closely. "Do you invest?" David shook his head. "I don't have enough money to make a difference." Evelyn turned to Grant, her expression shifting. "He's right," she said quietly, "about all of it." Grant stiffened. "What?" "I've seen the same warning signs in Halden Aerospace," she said. "And Eaton's clinical trials, I've been tracking them too. He's not guessing. He's accurate." Grant felt his world sway. How did a janitor see what he didn't? He turned sharply toward David. "Come with me." They walked fast to a private lounge. Grant slammed the door closed. "How long have you known about this?" he demanded. David leaned on the mop handle again, not in weakness, but in quiet strength. "Months. And you didn't tell anyone?" "No one asked," David said softly. "People like me don't get asked." That sentence hit Grant harder than any market crash. He sank into a chair, fingers on his forehead. "My CFO, why would he hide this?" "Why wouldn't he?" David interrupted gently. "Because he's planning to resign soon. He'll blame you when the failures leak. You'll take the fall while he walks away clean." Grant's breath caught. "How do you know?" David gave a faint, sad smile. "I clean the trash bins too. People throw away drafts of things they shouldn't." A long silence stretched between them. Finally, Grant whispered, "Why? Why didn't you tell me sooner?" David shrugged. "You would have laughed." Grant's eyes stung for the first time in years. "You saved my company," he said quietly. "You saved me." David shook his head. "You saved yourself," he said. "You listened." Grant. looked at the man, really looked at him as if seeing him for the first time. You don't belong on a mop, Grant said. You belong in a boardroom. I belong with my mother, David replied. She needs me more than any job ever will. Grant stood slowly. Then let me help you take care of both. The next morning, the financial world exploded when Halden Aerospace announced major restructuring, exposing the CFO's hidden sabotage. But that wasn't the headline people remembered. 2 days later, in the same gala hall, Grant Halden stood at a podium tonight. He said, I want to introduce our new director of market analysis, a man who saved this company when no one else could, a man who saw everything we were blind to. He gestured toward the stage. David stepped out, not in a janitor's uniform, but in a tailored black suit. The crowd applauded, and then rose to their feet. His mother watched from a wheelchair in the front row, tears streaming. Grant leaned close to him and whispered, This is only the beginning, David whispered back. Thank you for seeing me. Grant shook his head. No, thank you for teaching me that brilliance comes from everywhere, even the places we ignore. And just like that, the janitor who was invisible became the man everyone wanted to hear. Moral of the story: never underestimate people because of their job, their uniform, or their circumstances. Genius has no dress code, and the greatest opportunities often come from those we fail to notice.